Hi, with the microphone. I forgot the microphone. Here it is. Hi, hello, it's me, Scott. I did shave, so I don't look like a 100-year-old castaway, but I didn't get a haircut. I have so much fortitude for that kind of thing. I want to work on another thing I want to do in Unity. This is more like an R&D stream to figure something out. I think I know how to do it. Experimented a little last night. We're just gonna try it. And did I want to say something else? I don't think so. Did I do everything right? I think everything's good. This shirt's old. Corey Schmitz, world-class designer, gave me this shirt years ago, and now it's just falling apart. You can see through it. It's inappropriate. Draclin. Okay, I was just talking about how my shirt's a little scandalous, so you can see through it. And if you give me bits, no, forget. Okay. Do you have any channel points? How many channel points do you have? Should I run an ad? Do you want to watch an ad? Twitch gave me a giant button that says run a 60-second ad break. I should start doing that when I have to like go get laundry or go. You have 2,510 channel points? Yeah, we got to see if there's an API for that to do something cool. Okay. Anyways, y'all. Hi. Hello. It's me, Scott. I already said all that. We're just gonna start, I think. Whoa, Showbobs. Is that a cheer? Thanks for the cheer. For a bit. I mean, you can kind of see through. I think that's my skin under there. This shirt, I shouldn't own it anymore. I try to have, I'm not good at things like clothes because I just want to think about it. I essentially have a uniform where I wear basically the exact same outfit every day and just cycle out slightly different color t-shirt, socks, and underwear. Working pretty well for me. But when I get to the end of my laundry rotation, sometimes it's like, oh, I have a slightly, I'm slightly out of sync. They're like jagged arrays where it's like, oh, I've got 17 shirts, but only 16 pairs of underwear and 18 pairs of socks. So like in one laundry cycle, doesn't quite line up. I did do laundry yesterday. I just wanted to do this stream, so I didn't shower or put on any clean clothes or anything. This is end of laundry shirt. But yes, now everything's fresh. I did buy $100 worth of underwear because it was time to just like every 5 years or so, you got to just cycle it all out. But it was a good deal. I know you hate deals, Jacqueline, but it was like $300 worth of underwear for $100. It felt like a bargain, and it should last me a decade. I hope. That's the hope. I should just one day just dedicate a little time to do the math a little bit, just to make sure I have like 21 shirts, 21 pairs of tall socks, 21 pairs of short socks, and 21 pairs of underwear, and then I'm just good for 3 weeks at a time. I don't want to tell you how many pairs. That's private. That costs extra. You need 5,000. If you want more details about my underwear, you need 5,000 channel points. That's where that starts. Let's just start this, and I'll explain what I want to do and why I want to do it and why I think it's cool. And then I'm going to try to do it, and I might do a bad job of it. So I'm going to be clear, for anybody who's watching these streams on YouTube, these are not like how-to streams. Every once in a while I'll do like an office hours stream that says, hey, here's how to do a thing. Mainly these streams are a way to like force me to sit down and figure a thing out, especially if it's like R&D for a bigger project. So this is where we ended yesterday, and it was pretty cool. The general idea was to build a procedural kind of wireframe, even though it's sort of faked, with line renderers, and be able to animate the connectivity and the nodes, and all that worked. And I thought that this was not going to be good enough, and that, oops, I broke it. How did I break that? Okay, well, I was messing around last night. Yeah, obviously my scale got messed up. Oh, I think I know why. I know why. Because I had started to do some of the work and then thought, hey, let's stream it. It's actually, let's just set this. Oh, you know what? No, I can do this. This will be cool. This should actually work. Because this will show at least like the vague idea of what I want to go for. I just want to build it in a different way. So what I started to build was just some procedural control over all these nodes. So basically I have like one controller class, in this case the wireframe builder, and I can do something that will manage all the nodes. It's not super exciting here because it's all uniform, so it's like not too different from a scale, unless I turn it inside out. Whoa. But the idea is there's lots of kinds of procedural animation that I want to do, and that's cool. The thing that sucks about procedural animation is that you kind of only get it at runtime. And one of the things I really love about Unity is that you can do stuff not at runtime, like craft your scene and arrange things in 3D space and all these other things that you can do without having to hit play, that you can do just as part of the editing process. Also, you can do that with animation, with timeline. Without going into run mode, play mode, you can sequence things in the timeline, and it's really easy to sequence. If you haven't played with timeline before, it lets you sequence things. Let's make a timeline. Sure, let's just start with this. Makes it really easy to sequence something like an activation track, which would say, while I'm in this, what are you mad about? Okay, get rid of this. Wait, what are you upset about? Oh, of course, I can't do that because that's where the playable director is. Let's do it on like, yeah, that's funny. Okay, I just tried to do something silly, which was turn off the thing that was playing the timeline. So I don't want timeline on that. Let's get rid of some of these things. Okay, we'll have a different game object for timeline. That was a bad example. Let me just make a new thing. Timeline. Wait, I already had one. Okay, whatever. And this, let's change it to Wireframe Builder. Okay, and then Unity loves to put things where nobody would ever want them. Playable director is how you play a timeline. Okay, that'll work. So activation track, for example, just says, wait, why can't I set the, why is everything, I'm falling to pieces here. An activation track, but I want it for that game object. Oh gosh, I gotta be in the, I need to be here. Not, this is the project instance of this, which is useless. I mean, you can't really do anything if you want to control scene things. Whereas if I'm in here, there we go. Now this is the scene instance of the timeline, or whatever the right terminology is. And if I put something in here, like the wireframe builder, I can now do something like this. And it's nice, and it's lets you do durative things of like changing state. So this is a really easy one that ships with it, which is to make a game object active or not. And it's a way to sequence something. Like the easy, you know, the obvious use case for this is something like sequencing a cutscene, where it's like, no, I want deliberate things to happen in order, and I want camera moves, and I want character animation, and you just set up all these tracks just like you were editing in After Effects or Premiere or whatever. And that is great. And there's animation tracks and audio tracks and all these other kinds of tracks that are super useful. Unity also, well, okay, let's get to that next. Those are for the obvious things that would, you could imagine editing just in After Effects, like animations, camera movements, things turning on and off, switching cameras. Like there's things like that that are just sort of state changes. Even animation at a certain point is a kind of state change. But what's really cool is this is all built on Unity's playable system and is really extensible or extendable. Extendable. And they have a package called Default Playables that is kind of this set of things where it's like, oh, you could also procedurally control a light, or you could procedurally control nav mesh agents. So I say procedurally, meaning you write some methods that are like, you build custom behaviors, they're called, and tracks so that you can make your own tracks. So it's not just these that ship with Unity, but you can build your own. So here's some examples that come in that package. So it's like, fade in or out, or change the time speed. Like you could have a track that was animating and then the speed of time would change. So it would look like time dilation track, for example. I could make a time dilation clip, and then I could say, oh, when you go in here, let's say time is gonna really speed up, and then it's gonna slow way down. And you can keyframe these properties that end up being software-driven parameters to whatever code you want. So the problem is the way all of these examples work, and it's cool because they make it where you can like blend clips. So I could add two clips and kind of do this and blend between them, and it's really awesome for like, oh, to have the light purple and then it's going to fade to blue. And it's great for that kind of thing. The thing that they don't show here, maybe because you're not really supposed to do it, but I want to do it, is if you want to drive a totally code-driven system. And what I mean by that is like, so for all of these things like the light control or the time dilation or transform or whatever, it basically just says, oh, there's some exposed property on the game object that you want to control or on the component you want to control, and we're just going to basically animate that property. So it's going to be like, oh, we'll just animate, you know, on the light, for example, it's just going to animate this intensity up and down. It's going to animate this indirect multiplier up and down. Transform, like, and so for sort of like exposed properties of a thing, you can change those things in real time. What it doesn't do well, at least in these examples, is, well, what if I have a really complicated system and I have 1,000 objects that I want to animate simultaneously with sort of their own behavior? I don't want 1,000 tracks on this. I want one track that controls some sort of controller class, and then that controller class is going to control all the children. So I hope that distinction is clear, is rather than just doing what these examples do, which is control a single property on a single object, I want to control a property that then is going to actually run code during the update process of the timeline in like a generative way, and is going to do something potentially different every time it plays. Like there's a setup and run, and maybe you could bake some random seed or something if you don't want it to be totally random. And the reason I want to do that is if, for example, I had something like this. Remember we did this point cloud yesterday where we have all these points. I'd really not show them all simultaneously. It'd be a little cooler if I could. Anyway, all these junctures or little nodes, and if we could animate those all independently, kind of like we started to do with the noise, but in a way that we could animate it on the timeline. So hopefully that makes some kind of sense. Not sure if it does, but that's my example. So I think we're just going to start a new thing, like a new scene, and build a new little example for this, just so we're kind of starting fresh and clean with what we actually want to accomplish here. So let's just make a new scene, and this one will just be a ring. And the idea will be that we want a ring of game objects. I think of the best way to even stage this, and whether I want to bother doing it procedurally or whether, like, if I want to even bother making another builder for it. Do I want to bother? What I kind of want is is there a primitive that would be good for this? Like, what does a sphere's actual geometry look like? Okay, let's try this. We'll just do it with a sphere, maybe. Let's try this. We'll try our builder, and build a wireframe from this. Oh, the sphere had some translation, which we don't support in our builder friend. Everything is world space. Okay. Wait, where'd my builder go? Or did I just remove it? Okay, now we have a wireframe of our sphere, which is a weird looking wireframe, but I'm kind of into it. Looks kind of cool. So actually, we don't even care about edges on this. So I kind of want to say, let's just add a couple of parameters to this and change. You know, just give it, for now, just something real simple, like a boop. This is a silly way to do this. Really, all of this should be in the editor, but it's a little more annoying to get inspector values that way. So it's kind of easier just to use the default inspector. And then in the editor, we'll just do something like, you know, if we want to build edges, then build them. And this is probably going to make something mad when we run it, just because we're not bothering to build edges. So we said don't build edges. Now we don't have edges, but we do have the nodes. And so we also want to, let's do something like a node prefab. And then we want to, whenever we make a node, if there is a node prefab, let's instantiate it inside. Basically, I just want a cloud of tiny spheres. That's all I want to accomplish, just for visualization purposes. So yeah, we'll make all this, and then we'll want to say, that's not how you spell that word. Do you know how to spell Visual Studio Code? Good try. Wish. Spell checking in macOS is just an OS level feature, and you kind of get it everywhere, and that's not true on Windows, and I think that sucks. And kind of like MIDI. MIDI is a OS level feature in macOS, not in Windows. There's things about macOS which are just, in my opinion, unquestionably better. They're getting closer and closer to each other, but there's some things that make my life easier in that other operating system. Okay, so now we would just want to say, like, if wireframe builder.node prefab, I said node prefab, is not equal to null, we will say game object node instance equals instantiate a node prefab. Is there a version of this where you give it a parent? Yeah, I just want this in the parent. And then the parent is going to be node.transform. So this should instantiate this friend inside this friend. And I think that's all we care to do at the moment. Maybe we'll want some reference to that later, but that's probably adequate. So now we need to make whatever our node prefab is going to be, which for now will just be a little cute baby sphere. You can turn off your mesh renderer. Node preferred. Probably like 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. That's even probably too big. With as dense as that mesh is. Okay, let's start with that. Then we will make that into a prefab. This project's getting messy, but it's okay. It's just a test project. And then now we will say, hey sphere, you get a node prefab. So then now when we build this, we get this. That's pretty cool. I wonder if it's smart enough to batch this. Nope. Really? Is it because I don't have GPU instancing turned on the material or something? Why? Save by batching -15. Is this a weird Srp batcher thing where the... I still don't really understand how that works. I mean, you can be unlit. A weird light probe thing. Should just be an instance of that prefab. I wonder why those didn't update. Why did all those not update? This doesn't even have an option. Do I actually need to be lightweight render pipeline? I'm sorry, universal render pipeline, unlit, beautiful red, with GPU instancing on? Maybe that's my problem. You want to do like recursive nodes? We could potentially do that for sure. Update calls during timeline execution. That's part of the trick we're going to have to figure out. That's really the crux of what we're trying to accomplish today. We don't want to just call the normal update loop. I guess we technically could, but that's one of the challenges. Is basically we want to call code to update all this stuff during timeline execution. So that's really the crux of what we want to accomplish today. I'm still confused about this. Why those didn't update? If these are all just prefabs. Oh, I probably don't want to. Got it. Those are instances. I want to like, editor create prefab reference, or I don't even know quite how to say that. Like, I don't want to make copies of those things. I want to, yeah, keeping prefab references. Okay. Oh, I need prefab utility instantiate prefab. That's my problem. Okay. So that is why I lost my reference. This should actually be prefab utility instantiate prefab. Okay, that should be better. And then maybe that will help with our batching. Now all of these prefab references, they are. Somehow our batches changed, but not to the degree that I would have expected. Why is this true? All of these are the same prefab, referencing the same mesh, with the same material, with GPU instancing on. There's only 9 set pass calls. Is this a weird thing where I'm just confused by... where's that thing now? Did we do high quality? What did we do? I can't remember anything. Still getting used to this new jam. This is a project setting now. Universal render pipeline. We are using high quality. So on high quality, it's because I have, or because I don't have dynamic batching on? Weird. Srp batching. That's a tricky one. I wonder if there's just some bugs with the stats window. So Srp batching is a totally weird thing where scriptable render pipeline is the new, like, that's how high definition render pipeline, and now what is universal render pipeline are scriptable render pipelines, which is distinct from the old standard render pipeline. And one of the things they can do is now they do some kind of like introspection of everything you're drawing as part of the pipeline and figure out how to batch things that normally you would not batch. And it's somewhat magical, and I don't even know how to fully explain it. At some point I should learn it, how to explain it a little better. But it's a way to like to batch things together in an efficient manner in a way that Unity, the old renderer, couldn't. So it might be able to say, like, you know what, you want to render all these things, there's a certain amount of state that should stay the same for all of them, so let's just render all of those at once, and in a way that you previously could not. Now with dynamic batching, even without dynamic batching, actually this is batching really well because I have GPU instancing on. I assume if I turn this off, it's bad. So GPU instancing is helping me a lot here. However, what I don't know is it looks like when I click Srp Batcher, it looks like things are getting worse. But is it really? I guess I'd have to go look at the frame analyzer. I just don't actually know. Because what's funny, if you look at this, my GPU time is, even though it says there's 9 batches and I'm saving batching and everything's great, and I'm at like 2 milliseconds, 2.1 and 2.1, basically GPU Oh, really, maybe it's all CPU at that point. Unless that's overhead on top. I don't know exactly how they calculate that. If this is part of this or separate. But if I turn this on, so in like 470-ish, bouncing around like mid 400s frame rate. But if I turn this on, it looks like my batches are worse. It looks like they're worse, but I have a marked increase in frame rate. So that's pretty weird. And I would wonder if that held up on mobile hardware. That's a big problem with Unity right now, is like half of Unity is like deprecated and half of Unity is experimental, is how it feels. And that it's hard to know all the time what is actually working and what's not. Like maybe the stats window has not been fully updated to support these new things. I don't know. There's probably forum posts around this. I'm going to ignore it for now because I think I think we're actually doing okay with the Srp batching. It could be that Unity's internally deciding like, you know what? It would be good to batch these with GPU instancing, but actually we can do it better with Srp batching and it just breaks this counter. I don't know the answer. Okay. However, this is fine. We now have why is that animating in an insane way? Oh, because I have a crazy rotation speed on. Why would that still happen with 0 rotation speed? I don't know. Those rotation speeds might be irrelevant if I'm doing all this stuff in the center and world space anyway. Possible question mark? Okay, whatever. So we got a bunch of spheres here. We are able to animate them and that's all cool. Procedurally at runtime, what I want to do is, rather than doing anything in this update loop, like I kind of just want to not do, for now, just say, hey, forget about the update loop. We don't care about you. We want to like, well, no, we can keep the update. I guess we don't really need it. Let's just ditch this whole thing for now. What I want to do is I want to say, I want to have some alternate loop. Okay, for now we'll call it update so we can just see it at runtime. So it'll just be like public void update, and then we'll rename it. This is just to illustrate a point. And let's do the same thing. Let's not do any noise though. Let's just say that that we want to do this. Let's do just like vector3.lerp between vector3.0 and our node origin. And say that node progress is the, I don't know, what do you call that? They always call it T, like time on a lerp, but I don't always think of lerps as time-based. I think of them as, I sometimes call that alpha or see it called, Draclin, do you have any idea, like what's the actual proper term to use there? I've frequently called it the alpha value. I don't know if it's actually correct. Excuse me. Okay, so now what I can do is this is the runtime, the third parameter of a lerp, because first parameter is like, it's like start and end, and then the value that represents the position between the two. You'd often think of it as a time if you're doing something time-based, but I feel like I see it called alpha. So now I can do this, and I can like scrub this node progress. So the basic gist of what I want to do today, well, time is, it's usually T in Unity, but it, like a lerp doesn't have to be time, you know? It could be, if I just want to interpolate linearly. Time isn't implicit that there's going to be time involved. It's just that I want to set a value. Time or alpha? Okay, I've called it alpha, but when I tried to look up that alpha is the right thing, I usually call it alpha. Okay, so this is the runtime version of what I'm talking about. Really simple. We start in an origin and we go out. What we want to be able to do is animate this and sequence it not at runtime. That's our goal. The interpolant. Whoa, interpolant. I'll just stick with alpha maybe. right? Like, of course, I could do something to procedurally animate this and only see it at runtime, but I want to be able to treat this like any other animatable property in the timeline. Got it? That's the goal. That's the goal today. Unfortunately, to do so is pretty annoying. Unity does give you this thing. If you use that package, I think it comes as part of that package. Maybe it is just part of timeline. Is this timeline playable wizard that will try to help you make playables? I don't like it. Like it. Maybe we'll try it. Let's just try it. I feel like it's a little easier to write them. It's just like most generator wizard things. It seems to generate a lot more boilerplate code. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's still not quite what maybe. I just want it to be like you would say, if you were talking about the change between two things, you'd say, oh, that's the delta. Like, no question. You just say, if I have two things and I want to know the difference between them, it's the delta. Like, end of story. And I want to say, like, well, if I want to know how to talk about the progress between two things, it's the blank. And I usually call that the alpha. Okay, let's just try this wizard. I feel like we'll see what code it generates, but I think I'm not going to like it. So this is the wireframe builder playable. And this will, at least we can see the pieces of things we have to create, even if we decide we don't like their code. So I don't want blending. I don't want any of these things, really. I want like the minimal thing. What I don't actually know, is this really going to work? Wireframe builder, and then the name. So node progress is what I want to control. I just don't know if it's actually going to do that for me, but let's see. Okay, and then we'll make it a pretty color. It's very likely that we'll just write this from scratch because I feel like this gets annoying. And we want to bind this. So basically, this is a tool they give you to create those custom tracks, like the ones I showed before of the time dilation and stuff like that. But I don't love the generated code, but at least it will give us an idea of what we have to create, even if we choose not to use that. So that will generate 4 files for us. It will give us the behavior, which is really like, this is the code that runs. This is the code that does the job, essentially. Or it's the code that maintains the state for individual clips. The clip, really, I don't know why they call it clip. It's really the asset. This is the thing that sits on the timeline. Like, this is the when you drop it on the timeline and it's a block, this is that thing. Like, this is that duration there. That's what that represents. They do have a mixture behavior here, which I don't want or need. You need this if you want to blend together things, but I have no plans to do that, so I don't really want it. But this is where we get this on process frame. There's a way to do this where you skip this step, where it's basically like, if you don't really care about blending between these playables, you don't need this. Unity calls T the interpolant. Oh, really? It doesn't call it time? Really? So if I look at vector3 lerp, it calls it interpolant? Oh, you're right. Do I need to change my life? Okay, interpolant. The interpolant. That's going to be great. And so what you see in here is like, this is a process frame. This gets called basically by the timeline every frame, and this is where you can do whatever code to update. The extra weight here is that it's designed in such a way that's like, oh, if you have 2 clips on the timeline and they overlap, what do you do in the overlap? I don't care about that. And then there's track, which is the full track. So just to run over those pieces, and what they mean. Why? I have a timeline right here. Why can't I see it? Oh, that was we don't want this anymore. Don't be locked. Switch to this. Okay. Unity gets confused sometimes. So just going back to that, like an example here, this is the track, this whole thing. Like, this is the track. These are the clips. if I was to do this, and have two clips kind of overlap, this clip doesn't even allow it actually. But if they did overlap, some clips allow that. Like animation track would allow it. Oh, but I don't have any animation clip. I don't even know what to show really. I guess I could add my wireframe track to this now. So let's create the wireframe track. Yeah. So if we added the clip, this is the clip, it's on the track. And if we had two of these and they overlapped like this, oh, I said it couldn't overlap. What a funny thing. And it still generates the mixer. Okay, had I said they could blend, I would be able to do this and they would overlap and there would be interpolation in that overlap. And that's what the mixer cares about. Since I said not to do that, we don't have it and it just generated that mixer for no reason, but whatever. It's not that important. The mixer is what would look at all of these clips, really playable assets, see how they overlap, and then decide what to do based on if there's overlap or not. We don't really need that. In fact, we could probably just ditch it, probably, if in our clip, instead of referencing creating a mixer playable, maybe we don't even use it. Yeah, maybe it just generates it for no reason. Playable mixer behavior. I'll like find all references for this. No, it does. Here it is. Oh, the track. The track wants to create the mixer playable. But I feel like, I may be wrong on this, I kind of feel like we could just do the wireframe playable behavior and skip this mixer, because I don't feel like the mixer is doing anything for us. I may be wrong. So now we can create, yeah, this, just the track here. And then maybe we don't actually need the mixer, which actually would simplify things. And then maybe I wouldn't mind this generated code so much because it doesn't seem horrible. There is some extra boilerplate here that I don't really want, but it's not too bad actually. If you go through it and do the way I just did it, where you kind of uncheck everything. So this is maybe an okay start. So what we need to do then, actually I deleted the thing that I needed. We have an unplayable create here. We will need a, that on frame, whatever it was, you know, the thing. Like if we look back at this process frame. So we want that. We will have a process frame in here. And this is going to be basically where we do what we want. So if we say like debug.log cool, this is where we are going to see, or actually maybe we do like, yeah, whatever. Frame ID. Something like this. Should let us scrub through this and see the frame that we're on. Okay. So hopefully you're starting to see how this is going to work. This is cool because we don't care. We never wanted that anyway. And just the idea that we can scrub through this and we can run our own code. So again, the normal thing they would have you do is say like, oh, these are the properties that Wireframe Builder knows about, like this progress or whatever. And normally you would say like, player data is going to be this thing. Which is not set here, but let's set it. So player data would be wireframe builder is equal to player data as wireframe builder. I think I can do that. I always forget which one to use, whether to use as or that parenthetical cast. And then we'll just say like, if wireframe builder is not equal to null, this is where we would do. So the normal thing is like we would just do wireframe builder.node progress is equal to node progress, right? And then so, wait, why are you? No, you're a float. I screwed up when I made that. That was actually supposed to be a float. Oh, you say the type. Ugh. That was me not understanding the wizard. This is how, okay, so let's see what this does. So I can scrub through this. I can keyframe this, and I have a node progress keyframe now. And if I look at this track, for example, and I added a couple keyframes here, so I can scrub through and you can see my node progress is changing. This is a horrible way to edit anything, but what's cool is they will at least let you double click it and take it into an animator. Let's just say that on the last frame of this, I'm not a huge fan of Unity's timeline tools, that this is equal to 1, and which is dumb because I just, okay. So frame this. So now I have basically am animating node progress from 0 to 1 over this amount of time, right? Cool. This doesn't persist. I could probably come up with some way to make it persist, but I'm not too worried about it. Wait, why didn't that go to 1? Did I delete the wrong thing? I just don't understand. Like, that's snapping to time, but I can't snap to that to change the value. How do I... There's got to be like a next keyframe shortcut. Go to the next keyframe. That doesn't look like it's on that keyframe, but whatever, Unity. You say so. Maybe I needed record on. Okay, did that actually change you? Yes. Now we have an animation that goes... Okay, cool. When you use as, it's the same, except if it fails, it won't throw an exception. It'll just return null. Yeah, so potentially, I mean, I'm relying on Unity to make sure that the right value is here. But I think, okay, yes, that is the distinction. I forgot there's an extra step, right? That there's no null check. Right. A parentheses throws an exception, as will just happily give you a null. Does that sound correct? So now I'm animating this, and if we go look at our wireframe builder, we should see that update, if I did that correctly, which it seems I did not. What did I forget? Preview is on. This is here. That's our wireframe builder. Okay. Maybe I can't just do this. There's probably some more annoying step I have to take. Let me see. No, that's its timed. We would want to look at like this. Is there some important piece that I missed? Track binding. Their track binding is just, yeah, this as. Okay, what fun thing did I forget? Cool. Let's see if we're like actually running this. Maybe we're not even running this. Okay, we are running this. So why is it not updating the track binding? Is this warning something to tell me? And no, it's useless. A null check right after my as. I do, right? Because it could be null. It could be null if somebody didn't fill in the track. What did I forget to do here? That should be the wireframe builder. Am I like doing something silly where this isn't actually the timeline that I'm editing? Or some cool thing like that? Oh, right. Okay, you get out of here. I think there's a step that maybe forgot. No, this is here. This is definitely working. So why is this not updating this? What critical piece did I forget? Go here, lock this, go here. We're still previewing. We are setting some wireframe builder's node progress equal to Is node progress not actually valid here? Maybe I need to get that from somewhere else. That could be my problem. Let's see if that's actually a thing. Oh, something else is setting it. Okay, cool. Why would that be true? It's getting set to 0 every time I update it. Great. So who's calling? Why don't I have a more complete stack trace? That's my behavior. This should be this. This is getting called, but it's like this is getting called twice. Let me just remake this since I was adding and removing scripts, and maybe like in the process okay, wireframe builder track, a wireframe builder clip, just set something to change. We're happy with that. But why do I feel like I normally don't have to? I feel like I normally get a full stack trace. Oh, is it just because of log? If I say log like that, will I get a full stack trace? Yes, okay. So what would be the difference between these two? Okay, what I'm guessing is that actually I'm supposed to check and make sure that I have an input or something like that. I'm calling this directly. Okay, maybe it was unwise to throw away the mixer in the middle. Maybe I should have kept the mixer in the middle. Yeah, this is just to get the behavior. Maybe it's relating to a different object. It doesn't seem possible though, unless I accidentally, I mean, maybe I do. Maybe I accidentally have a timeline on something else. Like if I don't have this track. Okay, look, it's logging 0 even when I'm not on this track. And then when it's coming here, it's doing both. So that's weird. Why would that be true? Why would this behavior be running either way? Is there something wrong that I did? I mean, almost certainly I did something wrong because I just arbitrarily deleted that mixer in between. So like, okay, I think I know what this is. Let's see, Unity custom playable. There was a blog post that had this blog post. I think I actually want to do something a little different in how this playable asset works. This is what I get for just trying to arbitrarily delete something. Yeah, I think I want to use a different, I want to create the playable. Oh, create track mixer. I don't want to create a track mixer here. That's my problem. I think I just want to create a playable. So okay, that's just, I'm just using the wrong method. That's what I get for just changing one line of code without paying attention to what I was actually doing. So now I want this behavior here. Oh, because I said that's a, oh wait, this is the track. Sorry, I do want this. Okay, the track is different. The track is custom tracks. Yeah, I don't know that we even want to make a track mixer. I think we really want this like dead simple. Okay, I think this is the way to do it, maybe. Wait, was that that is the track asset? Yeah, we just don't want anything in here because we want the playable asset, what they call a clip. This is what I get for. Yes, this is already here. Okay, I think I was ending up with two things driving that value, which I don't actually need. Okay, that's all my fault. Interesting. I didn't know you could do that. So that was saying there was code that was the clip, which is the playable asset, this duration, this gray rectangle. I have creating the thing that I want to control. Apparently, you can also have the track create something. In this case, the track was creating a mixer that was designed to mix between those things, and the playable asset was creating the individual asset. And then when I changed that code, it was both of them were trying to make the same thing. Totally my fault for not quite understanding that. That's, again, it's kind of my fault for trying to edit that generative code. This should now be okay. Okay, so now when we look at this guy, does that value drive? It still does not, which is really weird because it looks like it really should. Unless there's like something wrong with how I'm getting, like, make sure this is dead. Oh, wait. Oh, I've done something super silly. This is not right at all. I need this with a wireframe builder playable with sphere on it. I don't even know how it let me do that. That was the wrong object. That's weird. It was like casting that as, okay. Cool feature. It was just 100% the wrong thing. Okay, now we finally have it with a thing that was definitely my fault and a thing that seems like a weird Unity bug. I don't know. So what sucks here is there seems to be no ability to record keyframes in this mode. You can record them here, which is fine. And then I guess when you hit record there, I guess they're just expecting that you use them together. Okay, we finally have it where my sphere, now that value is driving that. And so what I want to do, here's what I want to try, at least. This is what I think is going to work. Is I want to, on my how exactly do I, so I have kind of two options here. One option is just straight up call a method, is like set that value and call a method or pass a parameter. Or I could have a property and then the setter, it could do fancy stuff. But I think I don't want to do that. I think it would be a little more clear if I was clearly calling a method. So inside here, basically instead of doing this, I now want to call that animation routine that we wrote, that very simple thing, wherever that is. It's in Wireframe Builder, right? Yeah, this guy. So we'll call this like update progress, something like that. And we will give it a and then say something like this dot node progress is equal to node progress. And then, yeah, something like this. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but so this is a way to do that. And now we're just going to call this method. So there's going to be issues with this, I already know, because one of the nice things that the playable director timeline world can do for you is when you go out of preview mode, is when you exit preview mode, that it will reset state for you, because it's just fields, and it's like, oh, I'll just put that field back to the value that it had, no problem. Since we're going to be calling a method that's going to do a bunch of arbitrary stuff, it will have no way to do that. So that is one thing we will definitely have to clean up ourselves, because otherwise it's going to make permanent changes to the scene just as we scrub through, which is not what we want. And that's the biggest part that I'm like not really sure of, you know, that I'm like doing the right thing. So as part of our behavior in here, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to call update progress node progress. And I think this is going to do the thing we want. Almost. Yeah, check it out. So now we can now do stuff. We could like add some more different keyframes, do something weirder. Or it can get big and small. So with one track, now we're able to talk to a controller class that's controlling whatever, how many there are, 100,000, I don't know, 500. We're able to control 500 things procedurally like this. And I mean, this is pretty one-to-one because there's no intelligence of these, but you could certainly imagine that a next evolution of this might be, I can also hit play and just see it play. Next evolution of this might be, oh, let's give our nodes some smarts. Let them do something more sophisticated during this duration. That could either be totally randomized or could be randomized with some kind of seed you stored once you got something you liked, and on and on. So there's a lot of power to this approach, I believe. And now if I play at runtime, as long as my timeline is gonna play, it will play and it will play through, and I can know that it's gonna do the thing I want. Unless of course I should decide not to, because I could also just run a bunch of generative nonsense. So here's the thing that's a bug though, or feels like a bug to me, is if I pick somewhere in the middle like this, and I go out of preview, I've now like actually altered the scene. The scene is now actually altered. And if I go back here to where it's 0 and I go out of preview, it's actually altered. So that is the thing I don't have the best solution for, although I know there is, so my best thought is that there is a unplayable destroy. So we want to, here's what we're going to need to do, is we want to be sure that we have a reference to this, and we'll just get it if it's not set. So we're basically going to say, hey, we need a private reference to whatever our builder is, because we don't get that passed to us on the destroy. And we kind of want to say, we may want to do this because this is also where we would do, if we wanted to do any initialization. These are, it's funny because these are, the notion here is two different things. Is like, we kind of want to say if wireframe builder is equal to null, try to get it and then like initialize. So we could call some method to initialize if we wanted to do something on the first frame, because this is the first frame that we would have. There is an unplayable create, but we wouldn't know about the wireframe builder. So this is the first time we know that. And then now we want to say down here on destroy, if it's not null, we will just manually call update progress with 0. Meaning, hey, just totally, when you destroy this, which could happen at runtime, and we may want like some on editor if defs in here, to handle destroys at runtime if that's something we need. We may not, like it's only for like destroying the timeline, I guess. But this is a way that when we destroy it, it will tell the builder to reset. And this is the thing that feels the most like shaky to me out of this whole process. Like, maybe there's like something I shouldn't be doing here. But now if I do this and I turn this off, it should reset to 0. And then if I go back, you know, it'll always be fine, I think. And I think that's actually true during runtime. I think previously, if I had been in runtime and just like in the middle of one of these moments had stopped, it would have dirtied the scene. So what's problematic is it may still make the scene dirty. Okay, this is funny. So actually I should do like set progress, update progress is equal to 1. and say that if I want my default state to be that the progress is at the end, let's see if this actually works. Oh no. So now I'm in a weird state where like now these are all zeroed out. But they're not actually. Oh boy. But if I scrub through these and then turn off, now they're all here, and now I'll save the scene. Okay, that should be okay. And when I turn this off, on, the scene isn't getting marked as dirty, so I think I'm okay. Let me try to not do this and see if it marks the scene dirty. Weirdly, seems like it didn't mark the scene dirty. Even though it's definitely dirty. Like, these nodes are in a different place than they would have been otherwise, right? Like, that's truly changing. But not marking the scene dirty? Okay, this is the part that feels most iffy to me. Is like, there's some problem in my logic here. I'm going to take a very quick break, and then there's one more thing I want to add, and then I think I want to stop the stream. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the splash screen, and I'm also going to play a 60-second ad, because why not? Okay, so I'll be back very shortly. Did that work? Did it play and I came back and now I'm back? Maybe. Okay, yes, back. Okay, so we have this thing going on, and it's not that interesting right now because these all scale uniformly. So what I think would be cool is to, let's do one more thing. The idea will be, the idea, excuse me, is that we will want over here, like an initialize nodes, where at the beginning of this, when we create, this will be the first time we get it, and then we'll do like an initialize nodes. And then we would loop through our nodes, and basically just we want to say that each node is going to have sort of like a start time, like start so, which by default we will say is start as 0. And these will, so the idea being that we will loop through these, but we'll do their interpolations separately. So first we want to like randomize these values. So will equal random.range, sometime between 0 and 0.95, 0.9 let's say, and float end will be start plus random.range 0.1, or we'll say 0.5 to 0.05 to 0.10. And then we will say well, there's no reason to do that. Let's just do this. And then when we update the progress here, we really only want to do it kind of if we're in that range. So how do we do that? So we have the total progress, and we need to remap that to whatever this range is. And then kind of clamp that to 0, 1. So that would look like this. It would look like the node progress will equal progress minus, wait. Oh. I already had a node progress. The current node progress is equal to node progress minus the start time divided by this actually right? Let me think about this for 1 second. Out of node.end minus this start time, or minus node.start, and then we need to clamp this 0, 1. I don't know, man. That doesn't feel quite right, but let's see. What's cool is if this works correctly, we won't have to do it. Well, we'll see. We may not actually work. Yeah, okay, cool. Look at that. So now these all can be controlled kind of independently. We give them weird values. We could have a real slow build, but it really sucks to keyframe on that. Why does this not update sometimes? Or it's just slow to update? Is that the whole deal? Seems like my math is wrong. Because why are all of these fitting in this tiny range? Maybe my randomize. Okay, there it goes. I need to like go out of preview and into preview to cause that initialization to get called. You can see every time I go in, it's randomized. It would be cool to have those E's in. Which we could do. What's the isn't there some kind of like ease animation curve, ease in out? Yeah, if we wanted to like create an animation curve, ease in out. So if we said we were at like 0, 0, 1, 1, let's expose this so that we can see if this actually makes sense. We could serialize it, but hey. Okay, so now I have an ease curve. That looks ease-ish, right? So now let's take our node progress and say that we want to actually do ease curve dot evaluate at. See, they use time in this case, time, not interpolant, but I don't really feel. This was like 0.75, and this could be 0.25. I don't really feel like there's much ease there. I mean, I guess we don't really need to ease. We just said it was going to ease in. There we go, there's a little ease. And we could make this a more dramatic ease. No? I can't? Why can't I pull this handle out? that not a thing I can do? Weighted. Okay, so now I could pull this out way over here and get a lot of ease. Something like that. Yeah. Let's do the whole thing over like 10 seconds. Funny that I have a curve here too, though, right? Like I actually don't want a curve. Ugh, that's slightly tricky. Where do I want to do the curve? Maybe I actually want to do the curve here instead, but I want the curve on the individual ones. So I think I want this actually... Draclin, what? Oh my gosh, I'm on the wrong screen. Thank you for telling me. Okay, sorry about that. How long did I do that? Who knows? Who could say? What a silly mistake. Okay, that's twice in a row I've done that, but hey, just have to go with it. I don't want this. Okay, all I was doing was trying to add some. I think I just want this linear. There's no reason to have easing here. That's a lot of spheres. It's a whole lot of spheres. So something that I would like to do, and I don't know exactly how to do it, is say like, oh, I want just a few at the start. Like I want a heavier weight of... I don't think that I do that with a curve here, though. I mean, because this is actually the interpolation curve. That would be like, I need to weight the spheres in such a way that there's more later. Eesh. What does this look like with... Remember I did that again? What's wrong with me? Draclin, thank you. Why is there a hole there? Oh, because I'm not all the way through. Some of those are just too fast. I don't think we ever want it as fast as 0.5. I think we want it more like, I mean, we could do something like this. Or they're always slower. This seems like it means there'd be more initially, though. That's not too bad. Do that over a longer time. Like 15 seconds, maybe. They could also scale up as they went, which might be an interesting thing. We're not really doing that anywhere, but we could, right? If we did not only the position, but also the scale as this. Like node.transform.scale, local scale equals vector 3.1 times whatever the progress is. Could be interesting, right? And then another thing we could do is say, instead of going from 0, we could do like, vector 3.1 times 0.75. So this would mean they're like just coming up from the surface. Almost. Oh, that wasn't good. I mean, that's cool. It's definitely not what I meant to do. Oh yeah, because we need this times the origin. Node origin times 0.75. That was kind of accidentally cool, but not what I wanted. The thing that's just a concern here, maybe obviously, who's still animating? Why would those all finish here? Is that's the problem with this randomness? Is that there could be things finishing all the way up to here, but it's random. So kind of implies, that may just need to be okay for now. There's ways around that potentially, but. Okay, so here, why don't you be like a cooler color? So this should at runtime do exactly the same thing. Our runtime should do exactly what we want. So let's make our camera. Let's just look at this in a way. I kind of want the timeline to loop, and I don't know if that's a thing that, can timelines just do that? Okay, let's create a core. And the core can be whatever. I want these nodes to be smaller also. And I want the camera to be something else. Okay, let's turn back on just this rotation. Oh. And then let's just do this. Let's say it's going to take 10 seconds to grow and then 5 seconds to shrink. 15 seconds to grow, 5 seconds to shrink, let's say. Why is that number so high? Oh, that's part of our problem, is this progress is too large. It should be 0. I mean 1. Well, I don't know any shortcuts for this timeline. Maybe there are none. Maybe there's great shortcuts, I just don't know. 1200, we want to say 0. This must just be a silly curves thing, right? Or I just have some other ridiculous keyframe right here. Why is it so hard to edit the keyframe I want? Okay. This is going to go up and this is going to pull. It's not going to go backwards. Did I not write logic for it to go backwards, or just doesn't go low enough? It's funny because it shrinks a little. Why wouldn't it go backwards? Why wouldn't it go backwards? And why isn't that frame 1200? I thought I made it. I thought I went to frame 1200. I did go to frame 1200. What is happening to me? That starts at 0. Goes to like frame 900, but that doesn't match for some reason. $1200. What? Why doesn't that match? Why does this animation clip not match what's happening there? Is this a cool bug? Because it's still animating down. Is it just drawing it poorly? Is this a drawing problem? Because it still animates in here. Okay. I don't know, man. That's too slow, though. Let's do the whole thing over 10 seconds. $530 the right number? It's hard to say. It seems like it. Why did that stop before it did its thing? Because there is a bug. Something's just wrong. This should be 600. It's just feels like a bug. Okay. Can I loop the timeline? Why is there a builder on that? Oh, that is the thing. That's not really where I want that, but whatever. Wrap mode, loop. That doesn't look like it looped. Maybe I didn't make something about the way I made this doesn't actually work, or is it just at play? This should go back to the beginning. Yeah, it does. Cool. Okay, so then at runtime we should also get rotation. So if I didn't, I'm presumably not updating. Aren't you supposed to be rotating? You're rotating so fast no one can see it. Wait, I'm pretty confused. Do I accidentally have a timeline on two things? This, you shouldn't be here. That's just wrong. You should. Your rotation speed is 1. And my problem is I'm just not updating the local position of the nodes. So if all these nodes in here was local position, were local position, then I think it would be okay. Yeah, cool. Okay, let's just do it way faster. So there's something broken, which is annoying. There's something where the timeline is out of sync. Maybe there's like a timeline package update or something. One of the biggest things I'm worried about here is like scene, making the scene dirty, because that just gets to be such a hassle with version control and such. Okay, so package manager. My timeline package appears to be up to date. So this, unless I'm crazy, this feels like a timeline bug. Like this is showing that this thing ends, unless there's something about this clip that's like, This says it should be start at 0, end at 600, start at 0, end at 600. The duration is 10 seconds. When I look at the animation, the duration is 10 seconds. When I look at the way the animation is drawn, it looks incorrect. It just seems like a bug. And that sucks. Like if I wanted to just say, let's make this whole thing 7 seconds, whatever. And then go out of here. It'll crop that. And then I guess I could just say 7. Well, is it smart enough to do that? Okay. Just kind of annoying. Just, I mean, you know, this is just a release candidate. That's a fast spin. Cool. So the truly missing piece here is the edges, if we want to bother with that today. But I think I'm going to call it, because I've got, unfortunately, other work to do. But I'm pretty pleased with this. This like procedural timeline control feels pretty good. Why are you so fast? Did I not slow down the right thing? These names are killing me. I don't know what's going on. Just not actually the right speed. Wait. Yeah. I'm so confused by this number. Also a little confused about the 9 set pass calls. Fewer triangles than I would have thought for this many spheres. Is that because I'm instancing? Like if I wasn't doing GPU instancing, would that be a very different number? So that would be our node material. No? That's just truly... This seems like there's more triangles in one node than that. Where are you? Where's that node? I feel like I'm not seeing any turn on and off. Am I doing the wrong thing again? What's my deal here? Surely I should be able to see that. Okay, yeah, there's some. Do I duplicate nodes or something silly? Looks like I should see way more than that turning on and off. Maybe that's true. Maybe there's something about the way I generated this that it's actually incorrect. That would not be a big surprise. Okay, hold up for a second. So I grab just one of you. Seems like there's just one of you. There's some places where there's more than one or something. Very weird. Maybe it's just there's It just happened that all those initial nodes were on the back, so I couldn't see them. Good grief. Okay, there's some. Doesn't change the triangle, so it must be intelligently batching them either way. So, but if maybe if I did turn off instancing here and turned off SRP here, yes, we suddenly go to 700,000. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So the batcher is working. It just does something weird. That's interesting because it like batches them whether or not GPU instancing is on. There just feels like there's like, maybe it's only on the surface here, but like there's some infighting between the SRP batcher and the normal batching. Oh, wait, however to describe it, because there's so many things happening. There's like GPU instancing, which I guess is different than batching. Or the dynamic batching it normally does. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, but we got a thing here. It kind of looks like a thing. It does the job. It's at least getting. It's the foundation of what I need to actually accomplish. So that's helpful. Remember when I did the thing again? Ugh. Kind of stressed out lately. Pretty stressed out. Okay, but now we know how to do this reasonably. The reset part is still the part that feels the shakiest for sure. I mean, I'm not even, maybe it should be setting dirty in a place that it isn't. Like, it's a little weird sometimes with editor stuff of like, whether, but I don't want to change the default state. I don't think. It just seems like it'd be easy to accidentally do. Not that that would be like a total crisis, but especially because we could just rerun the builder again if needed. I just, especially with version control and scenes and whatnot, since Unity scenes never seem to merge correctly, like you really try to not make changes to a scene and push it when somebody else makes changes and so on. I think it's pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna call it. Jacqueline, thanks for stopping by. Thanks anybody watching this on YouTube ever in the future. Sorry about the dead space once again. I hope it wasn't too long. Maybe it was only like 10 minutes. I don't know. You didn't miss much. I was just figuring something out. If you do watch this on YouTube, consider visiting me on Twitch. Twitch TV, Scott made this. I should probably put that on the splash screen. Or like get one of those, add one of those special buttons to YouTube that's like, hey, come to, yeah, who knows? I don't ever do any of that stuff. Maybe today's the day I'll do it when I upload this. Okay, anyway, I'm done. Okay, thanks, bye.